What is the foundation of science? Here are 9 philosophical assumptions that scientists make in order to do science. Without them, you can't do science and you can't get accurate results. Number 1, truth exists and it can be known. A claim you need to believe in to do science, but it's a philosophical claim, not a scientific one. Because if truth doesn't exist, or you can't know the truth, why then are you trying to do a scientific experiment or investigation to discover truth? That would make no sense. Number 2, the laws of nature are orderly and consistent. That's a philosophical assumption built on observation. Scientists just grant themselves the laws of nature on faith. Scientists say the laws of nature just exist. They had no origin. They're just there. There's no cause for these laws. We're just all starting with these laws. Nothing to see here. Move on. But where do these laws come from? And why are they so orderly and consistent? Every material thing changes. Why do the laws of nature, which govern material things, why don't they change? And if they did change, how could science study cause and effect? It couldn't. This idea clearly presupposes that there is somebody out there who created the laws of nature and keeps them so orderly and consistent every single microsecond. Number 3, the laws of causality. All causes have effects and all effects have causes. But you can't test that in a lab. The law of causality. You can't discover that by science. You have to assume that in order to do science. Number 4, causes in the past are like those in the present. This is called the principle of uniformity, which says if you find an effect today that has a particular cause, the same kind of cause must be responsible for that same effect 1,000 years ago. So, if you come across a Rosetta Stone and you see that there are 3 kinds of languages engraved in the rock, what could have caused that? Today we know that to put languages into rock, you need to have an intelligent human being with a mind to create the inscriptions in it. So the Rosetta Stone must have been created the same way, because causes in the past were like those in the present. If we can't assume the principle of uniformity, we can't do science. Number 5, our senses are giving us accurate information about the real world. That's called realism. Now with atheism, your mind doesn't really exist. You just have a brain, and your brain is controlled completely by the laws of physics. So you really shouldn't believe anything you think, because you're just molecules in motion. Yet, our senses can give us accurate information about the real world, and our mind can know these things. Your senses are reliable. That's an assumption that scientists have to make, otherwise they can't do science. Number 6, you have to assume that the immaterial laws of logic and mathematics apply to the material world. Why should they? Where did these immaterial laws come from? Why can we describe external reality by mathematics? Could the answer be God set up an orderly world based on his orderly nature, so mathematics does apply to the world, just like the laws of logic apply? That's better explained by theism than atheism, and you need these laws in order to do science. The 7th assumption, we have free will to make choices and follow the evidence where it leads. Again, this shouldn't happen if we're just molecules bumping into one another. But you have to have free will to say, I see where the evidence is pointing, let me make a free will decision to say that's the cause of this effect. You've got to have free will. You can't prove it by science. You've got to assume it in order to do science. Number 8, we can make rational inferences from scientific data to establish true premises and then draw valid conclusions. When we're doing a scientific investigation or experiment, we're assuming that we can get good data from that and apply that data to the real world and make valid conclusions. Why can we do that? That's better explained by theism, an ultimate mind, than nothingness or just chaotic molecules. And number 9, we should report our results accurately. In other words, objective moral values and obligations exist. We ought to be honest when we're doing science. You can't prove that by science. You need to bring morality to science. You can't put or get morality into or from a test tube. You have to be moral in order to get the right results. Because if you fudge the data to try and get a certain result, you're gonna get a bad scientific conclusion. That's the 9 assumptions we make in order to do science. You can't prove this by science. You need these things in order to do science. So scientists rely on these truths at all stages of the scientific process. Before, during, and after gathering and interpreting data or doing an experiment, all these philosophical assumptions are taking place. So science can never be any more certain than philosophy because it's built on philosophy. We're so often told that science is the answer to everything, when in fact, science couldn't even get off the ground without philosophy, without morality. These are things you have to bring to science in order to do science.